Hey everyone, welcome to this last video in which I will cover the last tool I wanted to show you, which are layers. So to interact easily with layers, the first thing you should do is go on the layer menu and open the layer panel. So what you can do with layers is basically add more. The first thing you do to add, you can select where you want to add it, above or below the currently selected layer, and you can also remove newly added layer. But for now, let's add a few. So layer 2 and layer 3. You can move layer on top of each other by clicking and dragging them in this menu, or using the arrows on the right. So layers basically allow you to interact with your work selectively and to separate your objects in different groups. But it's more than just a group, you'll see. So to show you, I'm going to go into layer 1 and create the rectangle. So this rectangle is an object that is part of layer 1. If I go into the layer 2 and I create a circle or an ellipse, this ellipse is going to be in the layer above layer 1, so it means it's always going to be above this rectangle. No matter how much I want to lower it, it's going to stay in layer 2, which is above layer 1. Sure, but you could already do that with objects. Well, what you can do in addition with layers is that you can lock them. So that way, whenever you're in layer 2, and I've locked layer 1, I cannot interact with this rectangle. So that means that for now my rectangle is safe. I can modify anything I want in layer 2 and layer 1 is going to stay unchanged. I can also change the visibility of the layer. So if I want to hide layer 2, I can do it like this. And I cannot interact with this ellipse anymore. I can bring it back and I can do the same thing with layer 1. The last thing you need to know is how to move objects in between layers. Let's make an example with the rectangle and the ellipse again. Both are in layer 1, as you can see. To move an object in between layer, you basically right-click on the object, move to layer, and select whichever layer you want to move it to. So let's say layer 2. And now I have my rectangle in layer 1 and my ellipse in layer 2. Alright, so that's basically it. But it allows you to do some really interesting stuff. For instance, the main reason why I use them is that I will often use one layer for my background that I can rename background, one layer for my content, and the last layer I will use for label, for example. So that way I can go into my background layer and create a background of the color of my choosing. Let's go with some light gray. And then I will lock my background. Moving into my content, I can now draw on top of my background without having any fear of changing it. And I can create objects. So let's create a blue one and a red one, or pink one. There we go. And now I will lock my content, or I can move it and choose however I want to place things, lock it, and then move to my label tab and add text. So this would be object 2, and this would be object 1. So just like that, I have an image into which I have my background, which is on a separate layer, my content, and my labels. And now that everything is fine and I'm happy with it, I can lock all of it and nothing moves. So that's about it for layers. Feel free to use them or not, it's up to you. But for now, it's basically the end of the content and the tools that I wanted to show you with Inkscape. That does not mean the playlist is over. For now, I'm just going to move into showing you working examples of Inkscape, drawing some specific figures, and I'm going to move into tips and tricks. So if you have any questions or suggestions, leave them in the comments and I'll try to cover them. Thank you very much.